Welcome everybody to the Winnipeg Committee for Safety for Monday, May 12th. Today we're going to have a good discussion. But first I'd like to get started with the land acknowledgement. I'd like to acknowledge that we're in Treaty 1 territory, the home of the traditional lands of the Anishinaabe, Innu, and Dakota people, and the national homeland of the Red River Métis, and our drinking water comes from Shoal Lake 40 First Nation and Treaty 3 territory. And I want to jump right into the agenda because we kind of got a lot to cover today.
Just need a motion to move the minutes.
Can I have someone move the motions to the last meeting? Okay, I think Jessica.
And remote participation.
All right. So first the minutes. Okay, all in favor? Motion is carried. And then somebody move that we allow for remote participation.
Rocky.
Okay, all in favor, motion is carried. All right, now first up, we're gonna have my verbal report. So first I would like to take a minute to acknowledge the passing of Councillor Jason Schreier, who was actually the chairperson of this committee from 2014 and 2017. So he actually sat here as chair. So I just wanted to acknowledge him. And, my condolence goes out to his family and also the residents that he served. So if any of you are residents, I just want to say my condolences and just really recognize his work on this committee as well. So moving on, I do want to let you know about a few things that I've done. So I have emailed the mayor letting him know that the safety committee wants to be a part of the discussion around safety and strategy. So just letting him know that we are a citizen body committee, reminding him of that, and that we want to be really part of the discussion around safety at City Hall. And so I wanted for him to recognize that. And that's something we discussed here at this committee as well. And the other thing that I've done is we've had some youth funding program money that is coming forward. And I also I really wanted to raise at the city that we should be mindful of the issues that we're facing around youth, knowing that our youth crime rates are up. I want to be mindful of where we're seeing this and making sure that we have programs that are going into those communities, and that they're net new programs. So just been raising this because there is going to be a pocket of money coming forward to the city. I don't know where that's going to be strategically put, but I want to make sure that we are funding in areas where we recognize that there's a higher level of need in terms of needing the youth programming, and also in terms of making sure we're kind of strategically putting it in areas where we know the kids are needing the extra supports. So I wanted to raise that with you as well. Tracy and I also had a very good discussion with transit around transit safety. We got to meet with Bob Christmas as well as Greggy Wonky, who is the director of transit. And so we kind of thought that it might be a good idea to bring them in as a presentation. So we can hear a little bit about what Bob Christmas's team is doing. They're those safety officers that we see kind of on transit or at the bus stops. So just learning a little bit more about the programs. We talked a little bit about that. And lastly, I went to a breakfast for Westland Foundation, which is providing bursaries for inner city kids to go to school. And the chief of police was a speaker there. So it was really great for me to understand kind of the thinking of the new chief of police. And he kind of talked about a lot of things I'm passionate about. So I just wanted to highlight a couple of things that he talked about that he's interested in looking at. And that was restorative justice. So I'm really interested in restorative justice. As somebody who took conflict resolution at university, it's something I really strongly believe in. So I was really interested to hear him talk about that and looking at how he can bring something like that forward. And also really seem to get a passion of the understanding of the need for community policing and making sure that we're connecting, that police are connecting with their communities. So I wanted to raise that because I thought they were really interesting topics that I think you would all be interested in hearing about. So that's my verbal report. Can I have somebody move my verbal report? Okay, Jessica, all in favor? Motion's carried. Perfect. All right, now we're going to move on to the proposed amendment for the Winnipeg Committee of Safety Terms and Reference.
All right. We worked on the terms of reference. If you recall, I think that was maybe at our March meeting when we discussed it. So I took the suggestions that everyone made and incorporated those. And Leanne, if you're still there, we had talked about reviewing the document to make sure that it was aligning with Indigenous, it was awareness or sensitivities, and so I just I have emailed you a couple of times, but I was having a problem with my computer, so I hope that you got the emails. But if you didn't, I can send it to you again. And we're, I don't know if she can hear us. Yeah, can she hear us?
Was that for me, Tracy?
Yes.
Yeah, I had some computer issues myself here. I got bumped out and then bumped back in. So thank you, whoever's managing the Zoom call. I did, and I got the second one you sent. So I am looking at it and asking for someone in my organization to have a look, because I'm not a First Nation person. So I really want to make sure that we're covering our bases. So
All right.
absolutely. And I can make a commitment for sure to get you something like well before our next meeting.
Okay, because otherwise I thought I could ask the city's Indigenous Relations Division to have a look at it if I just didn't, if you're really busy or it was, going to be for someone.
Yeah, well, if that's an option, Tracy, I think that's a really good approach, just because they would be, all I was going to do honestly was look at how those kind of obligations are set out in other committee terms of reference as well. And there are some pretty explicit obligations, responsibilities to Indigenous community, First Nations in some of the other city committees. So I would suggest that it does go there. I'm happy to provide comments, but you can, I think if you send it to them simultaneously, that's probably great, as long as everyone's okay with that.
Yeah, because then once that is done, I'll circulate it again to everyone just for a final look. And then I guess our next formal meeting will not be till September. Although at our meeting next month, if for some reason we had it done by then, we could agree to that it's approved and ready to go, and then just vote on it at the September meeting.
I would really encourage us to maybe get it finished so we can vote on it next meeting.
Our next meeting though is not on camera.
Oh, it's not?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you could, it'd be like a working group. You would hash out all the details.
Okay.
And you'd have a product ready for voting on in September.
Okay. Yeah, I just really want to make sure that we've got some really, the terms of references are really, we've got some really big things that we're changing in there that I think makes us stronger as a committee. So I don't want to leave them. So that was my only worry. But yeah. So so we'll vote on it in September, but we'll do a little deeper dive in our non-public meeting.
Yeah, because if I can send it around to everyone and get feedback again, and also thanks to Jesse, he's been very helpful with looking it over and making some suggestions as well. So that's I'm glad he's put his 2 cents into it, and yeah, if it works out that we've all had a chance to have a look at it by June, could have a bit more of a discussion, then yeah, essentially we could agree that it's ready to go and do that. If that's okay with everyone, then we'll shoot for that.
Perfect. Okay. Does somebody just want to move the layover?
September 20th.
Okay. Jess, I guess I'm having a hard time seeing everyone's names today. Okay, so Jess the layover. Okay. All in favor? Motion's carried. All right. moving on. So now the operating budget,
All right.
the fun one, or
Yeah.
the not so fun one. Depends on how you look at it.
Yeah, for the new people, once a year, we have to submit our operating budget to Executive Policy Committee, and they approve it, and then it goes on to council votes on the final approval of it. So unfortunately, our budget has been shrinking the last few years instead of growing. And so I think that there's a need to, look at the budget a little more thoroughly, look at what, the work that we would like to accomplish with that. I think part of that also feeds into our discussions about wanting to meet with the mayor and find out about, what his views and vision are for safety for the city, so that what we are planning, not that it all hinges on what he would like to do, but just that there is some alignment there to what we're doing. So, possibly that could help us get an increase in our budget. I'm just gonna do some wishful thinking, but that so the just kind of to look at that more realistically and put something forward that we would have enough time. Excuse me, because Jennifer, if we had something ready like for us to approve at our September meeting, then when we could just pass it on to EPC and they could approve it at their October meeting, or
Potentially.
yeah, okay. And cause I'm just thinking, or would we need to build more time in there for it to get viewed more thoroughly, if that would help?
If we have the budget working group to meet and get together for that, we can have something put together to go to EPC.
Okay. Cause yeah, I just think that if we buy some more time for ourselves, that could help us in the long run. And the budget, we had lost $7,800 in our budget 2 years ago, and then it got reinstated last year, but there was some confusion about it getting cleared. So we temporarily got back $7,600, but we only have it for this year. So it wouldn't carry on into into future budgets. But Kaylin, you have your hand up?
I do. I'm curious, do we know if the new initiative or the new hire into the mayor's office for the safety advisor has any impact on our budget?
Sorry, if the new position the mayor hires for the safety.
Does that have an impact on our budget? No.
Does it have any impact on our budget? Yeah, positive or negative?
No. The budget working group is the only people that will have an impact, and that's basically city councilors. So they'll have their own budgets. We'll be fighting against other safety budgets. So if that hope that answers you. So no, we gotta, this is gonna have to be a request for the budget working group, which decides on the actual budget allocation for our committees.
Okay, understood.
Yeah.
Thanks.
So what I would like to do, because normally what has happened is in past years is I've prepared a budget based on the work that we wanted to do, presented it to the committee, and they've approved it, and then it moves on to EPC. So I was hoping if I had any interested committee members that would want to work on a budget group, like a committee budget group, have a discussion about what we would like to do, and what would be a more realistic proposal to put forward, and have something ready to go by September that would be more hopeful to us, hopefully. And I think that might require just one meeting. Like if we could just get together and have one meeting for that, I could draft the budget. Then if, we could review it, maybe that wouldn't even require a meeting. It could just be everyone reviewing it and providing their feedback, and that would be it. So I don't see it as something that's going to require a lot of time or a lot of meetings, if that makes it sound any more enticing to anyone. But yeah, if there's anyone that's interested to help with that, or if you Yay.
Caitlin.
I can help you with that, certainly. I would also, as part of that, would be really interested to understand how that conversation with the mayor goes in terms of strategy setting. So happy to participate in both if that's an option.
And like, I'm just gonna raise this, it might be useful, for committee members to go, once we have got a plan of action, to go and speak at EPC about our actual plan. So they hear from me a lot. So hearing from citizen members, you know, and and our coordinator, I think will be important moving forward. So I just want to put that in your ear. That's not something that we've done in the past, but I think moving forward, I'd like to encourage a little bit more citizens' participation in our meetings so that they hear your voice on why these things are important, right? And so I'm just raising that as maybe it might be an interest of one of you to actually go and help advocate for some of this funding as well. Okay?
So is anyone else interested, or like Kaylin, I'm gonna nail you down right away. Jesse, yes, great. Okay.
What about you, Rocky?
I can't be at the September 23rd meeting. It is on a Jewish holy day.
Oh,
And I don't like the idea of not following through, you know, with by presenting the budget on September 23rd. The other piece about taking it to the committee, we could talk about that.
okay. Rocky, you can maybe still be part of the, just like, I don't think the meeting is gonna be on 23rd for the,
Yeah, like if we were gonna meet to discuss, you know, what we would like to see happen with the budget, I would like to do that before summer gets too, you know, like too into summer and people are vacationing or unavailable. So hopefully, you know, if we could meet to do that, I would want to say in the next month or, you know, 6 weeks or so. And then that'll give me some time to do up a draft, maybe over the summer, pass some stuff back and forth. But yeah, that everything would be done and as we want it for by the time we're going to look at it in September. So if that makes it different for anyone, but I'll, if you need time to think it over, you can always let me know afterwards.
yeah. Okay. All right. So we have a subcommittee established and some people that are volunteering. Thank you very much for that. Okay. Does somebody want to, do you have anything to report as well, Tracy?
I do, like,
Okay.
I
I
was
have to move the motion first.
Okay, you want the motion first for subcommittee? Okay.
Looking good.
Okay, Jesse moves for a new subcommittee to look at the overall operating
For budget work.
for the budget,
Working. Yeah.
for a budget working group. Is that what you wanted? Okay.
Subcommittees are a little longer in duration.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so
Okay. All right, all those in favor? Motion is carried. Is the mover? Jesse was the mover.
okay, so the next item is my contract renewal.
Was that next?
Yes.
Oh, right, we're not, okay. So I'll ask you to leave for this
Well,
one.
I was gonna say, before you discuss this, I would like to just talk a bit about my contract. For those of you that don't know, I'm not a City of Winnipeg employee. I'm a contractor that provides the contracted service of operating this committee. And so I do that for a lump fee of $50,000 a year. And every year, the committee has to approve my contract to last for another year. So because it ends in September, we need to look at it now so that, since we don't meet over the summer, so that my contract is not run out by the time it's getting approved. So in 2001, so 24 years ago, the contract was set for this position for $40,000. So in 21 years, it's had an increase of $10,000, which would be on average $400 a year. So it hasn't increased hugely over that time. It hasn't increased at all in the last 5 years. It's been stuck at the rate that it is. And that is partly due to the fact that our budget has been decreased. So when we're looking at our budget for this year, which in realism would be $58,900, $50,000 of that is my contract fee. So it really leaves very little for us to work with. But I'm not gonna lie to you, I wouldn't mind having an increase in pay now and then. So as this time around, I'm asking for no increase because it just seems foolish to me when there's no money in this budget that more of it would go to me. So the only alternative that I have in this situation is if I want to get a raise, is to work less hours. And that's not really realistic either. So just, in the approval of this, there's not much we can do right now with the budgeted rate that we have, but I just wanted you to understand how the contractor thing works and what's been happening with the pay for it historically. So I will leave the room now and you can discuss and call me back.
I'll let you know when she's left. Okay, so Tracy's officially left the room, and I'll start with Rocky.
I'd like to know, what is our expectation of that position in terms of hours, availability, that sort of thing? Is there a standard for someone who's an independent contractor like Tracy?
There's really no standard, and I've been fortunate enough to have really good coordinators over the years. We had Crystal prior to Tracy, and it ebbs and flows, right? We've had, depends on the projects and the type of subcommittees we're working on. There's really no set standards. They get paid as, it's kind of like being paid your annual fee, right? Your annual amount. There's no set hours. It's supposed to be more of a part-time basis work.
So, how often are you in touch with her?
So we're in touch. Sometimes if we're working on a project, it's more frequently, and then sometimes it's 3 to 4 times a month, right? Depending on what we're working on here. But she does go to there's events that she'll go to. She works with the subcommittee. I'm having her trying to start on some social media stuff to get her, and then to put things onto the website. So stuff like that. But I can give you an idea of what other coordinators are making for their.
That would have been my last question.
Okay. I might need your help with this. Can we look it up?
Yeah, just
There's-
last month.
Yeah.
Colleen, 66.
There's for the Human Rights Committee, they have a huge budget. And which I'm pretty shocked about. They're called the Human Rights Committee. And what they did is they took 2 committees and combined them. So that when they did that, they actually combined both the committees' funding and left it the same. And their coordinator has been getting ongoing increases. And you have it again?
She was at 63,000.
She makes 63,000 a year for her coordination. And I know that when I sat on other committees, when the Human Rights Committee was the Access Advisory Committee and the
Citizen Equity.
Citizen Equity. I was on the Citizen Equity Committee, and we would do events, like we would have youth awards and stuff like that. And so I don't know what they're doing on that other committee as much. So I'm not involved. I haven't sat on that committee yet, but I can tell you that it's just like ours. It ebb and flows depending on what we're doing. And quite frankly, because we don't pay Tracy very much, I am very aware of what I put onto her plate, to be honest with you.
And there are no benefits being.
Yeah, there's no benefits. It's a contracting employment. Now, what does the Winnipeg, the Food Council get?
those positions are a little bit different because they're city employees.
Oh,
And they've been assigned, yeah,
They've been
it
assigned.
changed,
Okay.
yeah, so that's not a good example.
Yeah. So this is this is what's tough. This is the only other position, but it's not as equitable. Considering we have a human rights committee, we're not very equitable in terms of what we're giving our contractors.
And all we can do is recommend, right?
All we can do is we have in the past, we've increased it, but Tracy's right, we only have 8,900 to play with. So we can't really take away that in case it does pay for lunches, any kind of her phone, all these other little kind of things. We have to have a little bit of money. If we do host event, Jesse was at one of the events that we did host and we provided the food and stuff. So it does cut out of there. So it'd be hard to give her an increase with what we're getting. However, with the new committee doing their work, we can look at the equitable lens and really drive that home to council that these committees need to be more equitable in terms of what they're providing in terms of funding. So, okay, I think question?
Yeah, I'm just curious, is there anything that we have on the horizon that would potentially impact our recommendation? Any changes to scope, any changes to responsibilities, anything like that we should be aware of before we approve?
The only thing is that I've been, I have this, you'll hear me talk about it, some of you will remember it, is I have another committee called the UN Safe Cities Committee that looks at violence and sexual violence towards women in public spaces. And I have been fighting to get funding for that one as well. And I've gotten little pockets of funding from time to time. And I have, because Tracy helps me out with some of that work, I have been able to kind of take some of that money and direct it to her. But this year, I wasn't able to get any money for it. I have thought about, combining that committee with this committee. Then it would be more like the Human Rights Committee with the two that were combined in there. So it is something that we can talk about for future. But it's just what we could put on our plate when we're we're giving her $50,000 a year. It's hard, right? Any questions? Any other questions? Okay, so now we're at the part where we do need to motion that that she receives, of course, a paycheck. So is there somebody that would move support of 50,000? Okay, Jess. Okay, and that's correct. It's 50,000 in contract. Yeah. Okay. Okay, Jess moves. All in favor? Okay. Any opposed? Nope. Motion is carried then. Okay, and we'll bring her back in. Thanks, everybody. I know this is not always a fun discussion to have. So. Welcome back.
Thank you. It's much cooler in here than it is out there.
Okay, I'll fill you in on the discussion afterwards, but we'll keep moving. So now a verbal report from our committee coordinator.
All right. Well, you talked about the transit safety stuff, which I didn't know, so just in case I made some notes, but
well, it's maybe different than mine, so go ahead.
Yeah, we did have a presentation, like Jesse and Jess, you might recall this. Bob Christmas gave us a presentation maybe a little over a year ago when the Transit Safety Committee was just getting started, and just to tell us what they were hoping to accomplish and do. And so it was interesting to hear from Bob again a year later and see what the work that they are doing and what their hopes are for. And they're they have 26 full-time equivalent positions right now that are alternating being on the buses, being out in the areas of the bus stops. I also thought it was interesting that where there is a homeless encampment on transit property, they also go there and monitor those as well. So he's said still though, as with most things, they could use more staff. And so they're getting another 15 more that will come on board over the next 3 years as they're trained. And then hopefully by that point, they should have about 40 staff. So that would be good. Not that he said that would still be enough for them, but that's what they're going to get. We talked about, because sort of how it came about that we met with them is if you're aware, the new bus routes are going to start, is it the end of next month?
Yeah, end of June.
Yeah, end of June. And for a number of the routes, they're not going to stop at the same places that they used to. And so some riders have concerns because the stops are going to be farther away. They're going to have a longer walk to where they might want to go. And just a concern around safety of having to be out in an area for longer than they want to be. But what Greg and Bob both said was that the way the routes are designed now and with the frequency of the bus, how often the buses should come, that people wouldn't, they'd hopefully be waiting less time at a bus stop or walking for less time than with some of the old stops. So I guess that kind of remains to be seen. But for a bus rider, especially if you were taking a bus at night or something, you wouldn't want to hear maybe that you had to walk a longer distance to get to where you were going. So the other issue that we talked about was the fare avoidance, and it's becoming quite a common thing on buses that people are just getting onto the bus, refusing to pay their fare and riding anyways. And so that, I think it definitely for the driver isn't something that they can manage while they're trying to drive the bus. So they have to let the person on. And I think though it creates unease for everyone on the bus that sees that happening and, wouldn't want to get in a confrontational situation. So we talked about that. And so they're trying to educate riders more about the importance of paying their fare. The inspectors for the buses are doing that, but I think Greg said there's only 9 inspectors. Was it 9 or 7? I didn't write it down, but there's not very many inspectors. So it'd be safe to say that public education isn't too widespread. But I think that it's something that they're still working on. They're aware of it and trying to address it. And so we have another meeting possibly coming up with the transit union president. So yeah, it's not, I don't think it's set yet, but sort of to hear from their perspective, safety issues for the bus drivers as well as people on the bus, and here I'd be interested to hear what they have to say as well. So it's possible we could have a presentation at our meeting next month if you guys were interested to hear more about that. It would still be ahead of the changes coming to the routes, but I could arrange for that to happen. The other things I have are, we had talked about our webinar, and so I'm still working on that, and recently got a list of some potential projects through the Building Safer Community Funds that we could hire. Monica Cowell narrowed down a few for me that look like they would be good organizations to feature. And I also, in looking through some of those organizations and just past things I found about them, it could be interesting to possibly have a lawyer that works with youth that are in the justice system right now, that because I read about one that sounds interesting, and also there's possibly a chance for a youth worker or a police representative. So I'll have to narrow those down, and also the logistics, which I was just talking about with Suzanne that's sitting behind me, might be able to help because you kind of need a few people to run a webinar by the looks of it. So I'll keep working on that and tell you how it's progressing. And I also was at a meeting last week, and I had mentioned this before, that the other civilian committees that meet just as we do and work on different topics. The coordinators from those committees, we meet a few times a year just to talk about what we're up to, and so have decided that we would like to host an event where all the committees could come and find out about the work of other committees, find out about their role with the city, because we definitely found that we aren't the only one that was kind of wondering how our work fits into other things that are happening, and yeah, just a chance to find out maybe about some municipal systems and budgets and some things. But I think we're going to plan that for the fall, and the Climate Action and Resilience Committee has agreed to host it. It just is kind of, which means hopefully not pay for the whole thing themselves, but that they would take on that role. So I think, yeah, that's going to be an interesting event when we do it, and hopefully, yeah, we'll be able to participate and shine a light on our committee. And that's, I think that's all I have for my news.
Okay. And so we move the report. Yeah, you want to report? Okay, Jesse. Okay, all in favor? Okay, motion is carried. Thank you. Okay, so now we're moving on to verbal report of crime prevention branch. I don't think anyone's here. Oh, yeah, she's here. Yeah.
I'm here. Sorry
Hi.
about that.
No worries. Welcome.
So just some updates.
Yeah.
So we were finally able to fill the Turnabout North position. And so we're just in the process of getting her up to speed and training. Moxie is still on leave, so we still have a covering coordinator for Turnabout South. And most recently, Cassandra, half of my team, was up north doing engagements and hosting steering committees in Dauphin and the PA in partnership with CCFSC for the community safety and well-being. Yeah.
Eliana, I know what Turnabout is, but do you want to just
Sure.
tell the rest
So
of the
sorry.
group?
Sure. So sorry about that. So the crime prevention team has the Turnabout program in Winnipeg and in Thompson up north. So Turnabout program, basically what it does is that we get referrals from the community and law enforcement for children under the age of 12 who are at risk of getting involved or is already involved with the justice system. So Turnabout program, some of the supports that they provide to families include support information and referrals to services such as mentoring, recreational programs, crisis/counseling services, mental health support, advocacy. They also facilitate systems meeting with different services or programs involved with the family. So it's basically the crime prevention team's only frontline service.
Basically kind of an outreach to all the different service providers that could provide external programs, or do you have your own programs as well?
We don't, like the Turnabout coordinator does not have any, they don't run programs, but they basically coordinate like supports and services for families if they're interested in engaging with the program.
Okay.
Yeah, Turnabout's been around for a long time, and the reason I know about it is because when auto crime was bad in the city and in the province, some of those auto thieves were quite young,
Right.
The age of 12, and so they wouldn't be getting put through the justice system in the way an older person would. So
Right.
it was to try and help some of those young auto thieves. It's a good program.
And there's some questions, Kaylin?
Yeah, you might have mentioned it and I missed it. Apologies if that's the case, but is it referral only, this program, or how
Yes, it's referral only. So
Okay.
basically, Turnabout has a page. So there's a referral form there that families can also fill out, schools. So anyone in the community that is concerned about a youth under the age of 12 that is potentially at risk of getting involved with criminal justice system.
Okay, thank you.
Rocky?
Do the prosecutors know about this?
That's a good question. Not that I know of, Rocky.
Because there's nobody actively identifying these kids on behalf of Turnabout, right?
No, so basically we receive it's referrals,
I understand, yeah.
right?
Like,
But yes, majority of our referrals are coming from law enforcement actually.
I mean, I think you would want the people that are screening these police reports, you know, with a view to charging or not charging, diverting or not. I think you'd want them to know about Turnabout.
But again, since the eligibility is under 12, I'm not sure if they're going to be charged because they're under 12.
Well, that's the point. That you know, the information about people under 12, you know,
Right.
is in that data collected by the police. And I'm just saying Crown attorneys are in a position, you know, to identify these kids under 12 because they're often with the kids that are over 12.
Right.
Just a, I guess, just a thought, just to take back for you.
Right.
Yeah.
Will do. Will do. But like I said, like again, the program basically specific for that age group because we don't want them to get involved further into like the justice system.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Does somebody want to move the crime prevention report?
Can I just ask a quick question?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Can you forward the information for that to via email to the group?
Sure.
Thanks.
Absolutely.
Just you, that's a moving too. You can move it. Okay, perfect. Okay, all those in favor? Motion is carried. All right, verbal report from the Winnipeg Police Service.
Good afternoon, everybody. I just have a couple things that I just wanted to bring forward. Just to acknowledge that this week, the 11th, starting the 11th here, was the Victims and Survivors of Crime Week, something that we all have an interest in. It culminates for us for the Winnipeg Police as we host a training seminar with OEM Emergency Preparedness and Forensic Psychology Services, presenting Anxiety Disorder Association of Manitoba and Mediation Services as well, presenting where we're with some of our partners and having a good day of meetings and learning. And also May 9th, very recently here, we just released our 2024 statistical report. And anybody who's seen saw that we had a total crime volume decrease, very, very small decrease, but it was a decrease, none the different, and a sharper decline in some of our total crime severity. Interesting to know that everybody, and for this committee, that you can actually look up the crime details and calls for service with some of our police tools that you can find online. And I could and hopefully would recommend for everybody to have a look at that, and you can detail it right down to area and see on heat maps of what's going on. So just everybody, so that anybody's aware of that and they can check that out on their own time. And that's located right off of the City of Winnipeg Police Service website. And any questions? That's all I have for an update.
That's a great idea. Thanks for sharing that. That is a great idea that everyone can go on and take a look.
I think I did send links to the committee, not you guys, but I'll do that again. I'll send those links and I did in my Friday update. If you didn't see it, I sent a link out to the report that Kevin's talking about. So
yeah,
it has some good information in it, and it's easy to read. Yeah,
and it's just it should be something that maybe Tracy, maybe we should be taking a look at that. How often do those reports go out?
The statistical report's an annual report.
Oh, it's an annual report?
Yeah, it's an annual report, and the tools with the updated data on the website, I believe one of them is updated weekly and one of them's every 90 days, I believe.
Okay, yeah, because that is good for us to review. I don't know if we want to do that next, well, no, our next meeting is informal. We'll talk about it. Maybe we'll put it on the agenda for us to kind of review and really take a deeper dive, because I think it's really critical when we're looking at city funding, and we also should be looking at, okay, how are we utilizing those dollars, right? Some crimes, unfortunately, we don't have control over. They're very social crimes, and there's, but things like youth crime, making sure that we're doing, youth programming in those areas like that, that's really critical, right? And then, but we could be asking questions around the Winnipeg Police if they are having severity of crime going up in certain areas like violent crime, right? In what areas is that happening, and like where are we putting our money as a city in terms of helping to make sure that they're dealing with those crimes effectively? Just asking those questions, being aware, and maybe asking the questions for citizens that are really concerned about the crime that's out there. So we can lend our voice to those issues. So I think it might be important for us would you be able to walk us through that the next time?
Well,
And it would be,
I could do better than that. I can look at getting one of our crime analysts or our data scientists to be able to, because I know even when we present this for our release date, we have one of our experts who collects the data and is far better and more eloquent at explaining the results and why the numbers appear that way. So I can look at getting one of them, and also maybe even I could look at maybe one of the members that also works on the crime maps and could also maybe give us a little tutorial so that everybody here can see all the functionality of the website and be able to see what you can do and a good way for everybody to be able to utilize it.
okay, that might be helpful, to the next meeting.
Yeah, so I was thinking maybe that would be a good thing for the next meeting.
Yeah.
And not that the bus thing isn't good, but
No, but it'd be just because it just came out. We should learn how to analyze that data as a committee. So I think it'd be a useful thing. Does people agree with me, or?
Yeah, I can look into that for you.
It seems shaking of heads, so we'll do that for the next. And it's informal meeting, so okay, perfect. All right. Is that it? That's it, for
That's
yeah.
everything.
Does somebody want to move the Winnipeg Police Service report? Okay, Leanne, all in favor? Okay, motion is carried. All right, well, I think that's it. There's no new business. Just making sure that there's no new business before we close. Okay, I see no new business. So do we have a motion to adjourn? Rocky, you're here. Why don't you move that we adjourn?
I move we adjourn.
All right, all in favor of adjourning? Okay, motion's carried. Perfect. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for taking your lunch hour out. Much appreciated.
Thank you.
thanks.
Bye-bye.
Thank